Hey everybody, back at the old location. Looks like some of the people that work here put signs that they were here. See, Dan was here, Orhan was here, Steve was here, Kevin was not here, Chris was here. So I have, by the way, you may notice at the other store I use the normal camera, and at this one I use the wide-angle camera because you can't really see much without the wide-angle camera. And this was the space that I had at some point 14 people working out of. You got some. Yeah, these were the slots that I originally had put in. And so this is the thing that we got to hold it up because we figured out that this was eventually going to fall off the wall. This is the middle room where I originally had a supply company working out of here. And then when I closed that company, it wound up just being for gentlemen to do reassembly over there, a stock room, and it eventually became a room where Steve was at a point where he's pumping out 5, 6, 10 hard drives a day that otherwise people would have got charged probably $5,000 to $20,000 or God knows what drive savers and everybody else. And his little clean room bench over here that is right behind a trash can. The only store you'll see where the clean room is right behind the trash can and stuff still got done. This fridge smells, so probably not going to be taking that for a bit. That's the PFSense router and a T-Mobile LTE hotspot. I should grab that later. This is my office where I used to do all my YouTube videos. My first YouTube videos got done here, and my last ones got done here. You can see that my birdie tried to eat some of my workman's comp paperwork. This is old and expired, but yeah, he actually sat on this little piece over here, and he pecked at it, and then he started eating it. That was funny. He actually did that a few days before I got an inspection, which was hysterical. This is where my desk used to be over here. And I had my camera right in the corner. And that was Paul's desk. This was my cabinet setup. This is where the ultrasonic used to go. This is the shipping table over there. This place has changed a lot to suit what I was doing over the years with it. At some point I was sending out 1,000 or 1,100 screen orders and parts orders a day back in 2012. Lots of memories here. You know, I remember talking about the supply company failure, and I remember discussing what it was like when I first moved here. I remember that just in order to rent this space, I wound up running this little Ponzi scheme on my time where I offered a bunch of repairs at below market rates on eBay back when there was actually an ability to do that. And I gave people a 6 to 12 week turnaround time. I said, you're going to get it cheap, but it's going to take 6 to 12 weeks. I sent out a little postcard to everyone. PayPal released the money for those repairs before they were done. And I used that to pay the security deposit on this place so that I'd be able to get myself a store. And I remember about almost 2 years before I did that, when I'd been in business for about 2 years at that point, and I remember there was this gentleman who had given a loan to this landlord that had a really bad cocaine habit. And I remember Jake and I found it on top of a bass amp in one of the rehearsal rooms. And we lost our minds because it said $70,000. And here we were showing up to work 13, 14 hours a day, really caring about our customers, caring about our craft, wanting to be the best in our field of what we do. And this guy that shows up coked up for 30 minutes a day, lies to every single person in the room, gets a loan for $70,000 while smelling, sweating, and just reeking of his cocaine habit. And I remember, walking into his room because I had downed a small bottle of Southern Comfort, and I was probably not in my best state of mind, and saying, I can't believe you gave this guy this much money. Here is how much he makes from every single room. Here's what he pays in rent and expenses. You're never getting that back. If you gave me 10% of that, I'd have built an empire with it. And I probably shouldn't have said that to that person due to that specific person's connections at that time. Probably would have got me in some trouble. But the next day, the guy winds up handing me a promissory note and a check for $7,000. And he looks at me, shakes my hand, and says, now go make something of it. And I wound up kind of growing the repair company a little bit during that time. I was supposed to pay back the $7,000 with, I think, 10% interest over a year. I wound up paying it back in 2 or 3 months. And then I remember coming back to him for another for another loan for a different opportunity. And I figured, I paid back the first loan 10 months early. He got his full interest. Maybe he'll do it again. And he didn't go ahead with it. It was to buy LP171 WE2 TLA2s for about $58 when they had a resale price of $150 to $170 for a popular 17-inch MacBook that nobody could find new screens to, and I could because I had contacts with an LG broker in Taipei. And that was something that I thought would evolve into a good business. Buying screens that were rare, that were difficult to find, that were in high demand, using contacts that I had cultivated over 4 years, and bring and resell those as a repair individual, not as some random eBay seller that doesn't know the difference between, a screen and a plate. And I thought it would work, but he didn't want a loan. He wanted a partnership, which was probably a bad decision on my part. And he wanted sales to occur much quicker. We wanted success to occur much quicker than it should. After the first month or two, I think we were making about $1,000 or $2,000 a month in net profit, and it was going up and up and up and up and up. And I saw the curve. It was $2,000 a month isn't impressive, but you just started a business. It's not bad. And he said, well, what would you need to make more money? And I said, well, you need to be able to buy more inventory, and then I'd be able to make more money. And he says, well, what is that worth? Well, what would the more money be worth to you? Like a 30%, 40%, 50%? And he was talking about increasing his ownership stake in the company. And I remember looking at him and saying, that doesn't really matter to me. I'm 22 years old. I was kind of crude at the time. I was like, I'm 22, you're 52. I'm naturally going to be a little more patient than you, so I don't really care. But eventually the bug got in my head, and it really did get to me that we needed to start selling more and more and more and more and more. And I made decisions that I have to take accountability and responsibility for that were not good decisions that caused that company to fail, crash, and burn. And I remember feeling this incredible sense of guilt at the end of 2011. The company still went on for 2 years, but I knew the jig was up in the end of 2011. I felt this incredible sense of guilt, thinking to myself, there are people out there that could have said the same thing to you that you had said to him. You said, if you gave me 10% of that, I'd have built an empire with it. And instead it got wasted. And I remember just looking back at the words that I had said a year and a half earlier and feeling this intense sense of shame because there were so many people out there that started out that were probably like broke like I was or like, down on their luck like I was that, crawled their way up from shit over 3 or 4 or 5 years. And if somebody had given them an opportunity or loaned them $7,000 or invested $20,000 in a company, it may have done very well for them. And I remember feeling this ridiculous sense of not even disappointment that my company failed, but I felt this insane sense of guilt that somebody else could have done something really good with that opportunity. And instead of them getting the opportunity, I got it. And I fucked it up. And I remember thinking to myself, someday I hope to be able to pay back that missed opportunity to other people. Someday I'd like to pay it forward that I got an opportunity that someone else didn't get. Let me try to make that opportunity available to someone else if I ever get the chance. And I really hope I did that with this place. I rented this place 8 years and 3 months ago, and looking at what happened in that time, it looks like right to repair is something that some state legislatures are actually taking seriously. It looks like all of the people who told me that you can't really get component level board repair done in the US, it's just not viable, just send it off to China. It seems like that has been proven wrong, as there are now thousands upon thousands of repair shops that have added a few $1,000s a month to their revenue by doing board repairs in-house. A lot of them, I meet them, they show up at my store, they call, they email, and they say, I got it from watching your stuff. And it's just, I kind of hope that I did manage to accomplish that over the past 8 years. I remember feeling really guilty throughout all of 2012 because for most of 2012, I wasn't, I registered the YouTube account in 2011. And for most of 2012, I wasn't really able to do videos because I had that backlog of repairs. I was dealing with the walk-in repairs, but I had also sold hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these repairs on eBay with the 6 to 12 week turnaround time. And that I needed to get to a point where I caught up with it. So I wasn't really able to start doing much until 2013, 2014. But I really hope to be able to continue doing this with the new place. You know, I felt a little bit of that same sinking feeling when I had hired Eugene. I mean, I know it's going to sound stupid to people who think that if you have 1 million subscribers, you're on top of the world and nothing can go wrong, but that's not the way business works. You can do everything right for 5, 6, 7, 9 years and make one stupid decision that just compounds itself and compounds itself and compounds itself, and that can genuinely sink you. That's why you always have to kind of be vigilant and never think that you're smarter than you are. And I kind of felt that exact same sinking feeling. But we wound up getting through it just fine. And I'm excited to see what it is we'll be able to do with the new place. And I'm really happy to see what we were, seeing what I was able to get done out of here. I'm genuinely excited to see what the next 10 years has in store. And I hope to be able to continue what we started here else with the new place. Look at that. Look at this board. Look at that. This actually worked at some point in time. This worked for a good 2 months. I remember when someone, oh man, it's totally dead now. But this is hung on the wall. I'm keeping that for posterity. This is the view out the window that Paul and I had. Look at that. When people say, Lewis, your new office doesn't have a window. Yeah, I'd rather have a nice wall than a reminder that I'm in prison. You got the bars in the window over here. This is the mirror in the bathroom. This is the other mirror in the bathroom. We always have to make sure you have your signs, make sure you wash your hands. This is our exhaust fan for the bathroom to ensure that when you poop, it doesn't smell. The thing is, you gotta lift this in order for that to work so all the construction people can see you taking a shit. It's kind of weird. This shelf, I really wish I could have taken this with me, but this thing is beyond falling apart. Because the Uline shelves we got are decent, but they're not as tall, and they don't have slots that are specific like this. The problem with this is that this is legitimately falling apart. If we try to move this out of here, yeah, you can see this whole thing is kind of falling apart, kind of funky. But it would have been nice if we could have taken this with us, but I don't know how to take that without it getting ruined. That's the hole that the mousie was coming through. I'm gonna miss you, little mousie. You can see his poop right over there. See? Mouse poop. Little mousie, you've got to pay rent now. $550, $300 a month. It's all you, bro. I started at $3,500, but I made the place so nice that you now can't afford it. Look at that. All little places for the mouse to come in. This is another hole that Steve taped up because there was a mouse that came in, almost jumped inside his clean room one day. It's another. This is all the Cat 5 that just kind of got stapled to the wall. I'm even gonna miss you, Spectrum. Now that I have Fios, I'm gonna miss cursing you and the little drop frames counter that Nitrocaster made that shows the drop frames because of Spectrum. I'm gonna miss you, overcomplicated pfSense router that makes what I could do in a normal router in 5 minutes take 30 minutes of Googling and pulling my hair out. I'm gonna miss you, little pfSense router. It's a i5 in there, and it's got multiple LAN ports, so I can have dual WAN. So I have Spectrum, but then when Spectrum dies, because Spectrum is shit, it'll switch over to this little T-Mobile access point up there. That's a drone that I used to fly into employees. An airsoft gun. Every now and then, shoot your employees. Sometimes have your employees shoot you. Good old work fun. This is the EWaste pile that these are some of the screens from that old supply company. There's B154PW01 in those boxes. I bought those screens, I believe, in 2010 or 2011, and they're still here. Anybody need an OEM grade A+, not grade A-, AU Optronics B154PW01 V1 matte or B154PW01 V0 glossy for an A1150 or A1211 2006 MacBook Pro? We've got 40 of them right there. That's a bent and messed up wheel for a Bafang. After I got cut off by an Uber and almost run over by it. This is a letter from Tiffany Carding that sounded like the mob, so I kept it. Please remind him of this fact and suggest to him that he is risking himself. It was so funny. Oh, man. Hello. Those are greenies. My stepmom made me this when I first opened. That's Mr. Clinton the cat, and that's Blackberry the cat. These are the fire extinguishers. When I first started experimenting with board repairs, I used this part of the desk, and someone here got me a fire extinguisher, knowing that I was probably going to set the board on fire. Great vote of confidence there from staff. Those are apple boxes that I need to set on fire at some time. Broken up of Fang Motors. That's my YouTube plaque for hitting 100,000 subscribers up there. I actually used some adhesive to put it on the window, but I used the good stuff, so now I can't get it off. I'm even gonna miss the basement. Let's go into this beautiful basement. What we got down here? A dehumidifier from when the place flooded. Those are the quicks that got flooded when the building went on fire. That was fun. I saw that little spike in YouTube from the CBC News piece. Thought to myself, oh wow, look at that. There may be a slight spike in YouTube income. And then $10,000 of inventory just gets whooshed. That's the way life works. But it literally happened within like a day or two. Yeah, so there was a good amount of quicks and ultrasonics down here that just went poof. This door kind of looks like it was made in 1910. Like, look at this. Look at that construction. That old. Those are the bubble wrap rolls that are too nasty to use. This is an IKEA table. I think I used to use this as a front desk counter a long time ago. These are stairs. We redid these stairs because one time I think myself or someone else here fell through them. These are 3 of the original stairs. Not exactly level. You can tell which stairs are the new stairs and which ones are the old ones. Those are cigarettes on the floor because it's New York City and New York is a shithole. Oh, nice. Always going to be a bunch of cigarettes on the sidewalk. Smokers are disgusting. I really don't get this. Like, throw your shit away somewhere else. Fuck's sake. Looks like a dog took a shit right over there in the hole in the sidewalk. This, my moving paper, is just as ripped as my new license. If somebody comes in and says your paper looks like crap, I can go, yep. It's the same, made to the same standard as the Department of Consumer Affairs. Whoop. Oh well, it's not like I'm going to be using that door for a long time anyway. All right. Another one. That's a kitty. I think my stepmom made that one too. I should take that with me. She gave me that stuff when I first opened. She's a nice woman. A considerable upgrade from biological mom. That's the heater that we had installed after the building went on fire, and Hub didn't bring us heat for a year. I didn't feel like waiting a year to give my employees heat. Seems kind of mean. That's when I had Verizon DSL installed. 768 by 128, baby. No files here. It's my drawer. My old free PBX setup. take those drives with me?